Welcome to part 2 of Central BC's Railway and Forestry Museum. This part will be concentrating on the railway section. Here we have a road switcher locomotive. This is BCR 586. This diesel-electric locomotive was built in 1956 by Montreal Locomotive Works for the Pacific Great Eastern Railway, which became British Columbia Railway, or was better known as BC Rail. Road switchers are small locomotives that can move in both directions and typically built to travel at higher speeds and pull freight along main lines for shorter distances. BCR 586 ran in northern BC. It basically carried natural resources such as lumber and grain. And here we have another switcher locomotive. This is actually in its original colors, and this is Canadian National's 7817. It was owned by several mines and mills after its initial use on the railway, the last being Eurocan's Pulp and Paper in Kitimat. Here we have the NLE Coach. It was built in 1913 by the Pullman Car Company. It was originally a tourist sleeper car for the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway. In 1976, it was moved to BC to be used as a reception area for the CN office at the Main Street station in Vancouver. It was eventually decommissioned and used as a VIP and smoking area for the World's Fair in Vancouver Expo 86. The museum uses this as a rental space for special meetings and events. It has about a capacity of 16 people and includes cutlery, linen, everything that you would want, and is available from May to the end of September. The Tekla, this car was used for passenger service in the Fort James area in the 70s and 80s. It has 2 walk-in coolers and a really large baggage area. It was used to carry forestry workers and First Nations residents, plus all the groceries and supplies for the camps and communities of the remote Tekla region. The cool thing is this car was actually open, so we got to go inside. So we're entering it in the passenger section, and then we'll go on to the baggage area. Just about to enter the baggage area. So here's the big baggage area. As you can see, you could be holding a lot of stuff to be held in here. And here we're going past the coolers. So you can see that they put all the fridges and all that for all the communities that this train served. And now this is a shot going back. And this is, I've opened it wide as I can so it gets a good shot of the passenger area. And here we can actually see a steam locomotive. Here we have the BCR auxiliary cars. These cars were originally passenger cars and were later converted to crew cars for the Prince George Pacific Great Eastern Auxiliary. The auxiliary train crew was a group of workers that regularly worked in the car shop and were called to clean up and put trains back on the track after accidents and derailments. Members of the crew would live in these cars at the site of the derailment. Unfortunately, we couldn't go into the car, but at least we could see the main cafeteria for the crew. This is BCR 6001, an electric locomotive. This locomotive was built in 1983. It is a 50 kilowatt electric engine built specifically for BC Rail's Tumbler Ridge subdivision. The 6001, along with 6 other identical motors, hauled coal through underground tunnels from Tumbler Ridge towards Prince George. Electric locomotives were used because they were worried that the diesel trains would suffocate the drivers in the long tunnels. With more efficient diesel engines, they were decommissioned in 2000. I was really lucky this time because it was actually open and I got to go inside the cab. 90% of the time it is closed. You can only look into the cab. Tumbler Ridge actually produces metallurgical coal, which is needed for processing steel. And I kind of know this because my daughter is a chemical engineer and and worked there as a process engineer. These cars were built in 1923 by the Canadian Car and Foundry. They were originally Canadian National Sleeper cars, and then in 1978 were converted into worker cars. They were used as crew cars and were part of the C&N auxiliary train. Unfortunately, you could not go into these cars, so this is the best view you get. This car started out its life as a locomotive. The engine and traction motors were removed and when the car was bought by BC Rail. The empty space was filled with electronic control gear and concrete and was turned into a remote control car. This Bucker snowplow was originally built by CP Rail in its own shops. It was acquired by BC Rail in 1972 and refurbished. The Plow Reflex, the design developed by Canadian Pacific Railway for its challenging mountain service, and had an extremely long life, as was in service for 75 years. This boxcar was originally built in the 1940s and was donated to the museum by Northwood Pulp and Paper, now Camfor. It is mainly used as storage and acted as the museum's first signboard. This bunk car originally started its life as a plain boxcar for Canadian Pacific Railway, CPR, in 1928. It was later bought by BC Rail, adapted for use by the bridge construction crew. The car was insulated, a stove installed, and bunks and lockers were built in. This car is actually called a cat car. It refers to the fact that it's carried a Caterpillar tractor used during railway construction. The shed on the back, you hold fuels, tools, and other supplies needed by the tractor. Here we have a really cool steam crane. It was built in 1930 by Industrial Works in Bay City, Michigan, and a lifting capacity of 100 tons. The steam crane worked all over BC for CP Rail, including such communities as Nelson, North Bend, Vancouver, and Victoria. It was also a part of the auxiliary crew train of CP Rail, Esquimalt and Nanaimo Railway on Vancouver Island. I should also point out that CP Rail is short for Canadian Pacific Railway. Here we have a Flanger Car. Now, a Flanger Car is a car designed to clear snow and ice from between the railway tracks. This car started its life as a boxcar in 1915 in eastern Canada, and in 1949 the two flanger blades on the bottom were added so it could plow snow from both directions. As you can see, this wooden flanger car mainly worked the area between Smithers and Endicott. Smithers is approximately 370 kilometers west of Prince George, and Endicott, which is 170 kilometers west of Prince George. We actually now have two cabooses, and both were open, which is really special. The first one is the PGE caboose, and notice that the cupola where the brakeman sat and who was responsible for communicating with the engineer is at the back of the caboose, and the conductor, who was responsible for loading, unloading passengers and cargo, basically lived down below inside. Oh, there's another caboose that's open, and this one's really good. There's a little bed in here, and there's the Christmas tree and dining room and kitchen and stove. This one has just at the end, and that's as far as you can go, and there's the signal stations. So there you go. But you can't really see much. Just a chair. Oil lamp. Caboose!
Oh God, Dave, you're weird.
Now we have the bigger of the two cabooses. This was built in 1970 for Canadian Pacific Railway. Notice that this has a center cupola instead of an end cupola, introduced when international service became common. Before that, like the previous caboose, was very small, and they stayed in just in the Pacific subdivision.
Oh, this is open. Okay, this is the caboose that allowed us in here. This is a CP Rail Caboose. So, seats up there. That's the viewing platform. Then it goes on past that, so that's midship. You know, bunks there. And a little table, but yeah. And that's the end of the caboose. And the stove. Here we'll get a good view of the wood stove. So we're going to go back out.
And now for the finale of this video, an actual steam locomotive. This is CN1520 steam locomotive. This locomotive was built in 1907. It was acquired by the Canadian National Railway, or CN, in 1919 and is called a 460 engine because its configuration of the wheels. 4 wheels at the front, 6 in the middle, and none on the cab of the locomotive. That coal car really looks awesome. I think that's just the coolest thing ever. And the water tank on the locomotive holds 5,000 gallons of water. And here we have 1520 in its Christmas decorations. Quite cool. I love that big reef on the coal car. Well, thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe. Our next video will conclude our tour of the Railway and Forestry Museum in Prince George. And yes, there is going to be some really awesome forestry displays. Bye!